agree with the minister that a decision to suspend the use of the vaccine in some European countries was due more to geopolitical wrangling and less to sound scientific reasoning. And so thankfully, though, most of these countries have already reversed their decision to suspend the use of the AstraZeneca. And importantly too, the World Health Organization continues to advise of the safety of the vaccine, and in this case, the AstraZeneca vaccine. As of today in Dominica, over 15,000 of you have taken the vaccine. As a matter of fact, 15,060 of us have taken the vaccine. And I reiterate the need for more of our population to get vaccinated. Our primary health care teams are moving around the island and making stops in communities to ensure that as many of you as possible can take the advantage of this opportunity to get vaccinated. You also heard from the Minister for Tourism of our goal to achieve a 70% vaccination rate in order to revive activity in the tourism industry. In fact, there is a strong sense from the cruise lines that vaccination will be an important consideration for the resumption of cruise calls. And we all know how important the cruise industry is to Dominica. The tourism industry is to Dominica, and growingly so. And so many of us depend on tourism for our own survival, our daily bread. And so it's important for us to get vaccinated and prepare ourselves for the eventual return of tourism in full swing. So in making your decision about whether or not you should take the vaccine, you must therefore consider the well-being and livelihood of every Dominican, in particular those who depend on the tourism sector to make a living. And even if we don't rely on it directly, we have an important responsibility to get vaccinated. Again, the numbers to call is 611-3400 and 225-3400. And I must say, my dear friends, that it is possible to return to a vibrant, thriving tourism industry this year. We are very confident and hopeful. But we cannot only talk about it. We need to take action to further arm ourselves against the virus and then to encourage our fellow Dominicans to do the same. I know that there's a lot of talk about the vaccines and negative talk, and this situation in Europe did not help, but we have to continue relying on the science and the health officials to guide us. So far, thank God, we have done exceedingly well as a country to manage this pandemic. Surely, we cannot afford to become complacent. We are saying in some parts of Europe, there is a third wave and a fourth wave, and governments are taking stricter measures to control the spread of the virus. So we cannot be complacent. And the vaccines are an important element of our fight against the COVID-19. And so we are now in this very important vaccination stage. And I again encourage every Dominican to take responsibility for the personal well-being and for the health and wealth of our nation. And even in the midst of the pandemic, we have been able to make significant progress in preparing our country to receive visitors. As you heard from the Minister of Tourism, Honorable Dennis Charles, hotel developments under the Citizenship by Investment Program are progressing steadily, and an amount of over $950 million are being invested in the economy through these hotels, for the construction of these hotels. This translates to over 470 jobs during construction and 791 permanent jobs are expected during operations when these hotels are completed. 3 other properties are under construction through private investment, concessions from the government of Dominica through Invest Dominica Authority, and also financing in some cases from the Aid Bank. These projects will boost the economic fortunes of our country and also create create sustainable jobs for our citizens. During the construction phase, we're keeping people employed, and upon completion, not only will we see an improvement or an increase in the accommodation stock on our country, we'll also see the creation of new economic opportunities for farmers or fisher folk or tour guides or vendors, and so many of us who are involved in the service industry. In another indication of the thoughtful approach to tourism that has been taken during this pandemic, the Ministry of Tourism on Friday launched the Work in Nature program, which allows individuals to relocate to Dominica and work remotely from the Nature Isle for up to 18 months. I would like to certainly commend those who conceptualized this program and who have worked tirelessly to fine-tune the details for its launch. This Work in Nature program is targeted towards people who want to work remotely, the digital nomads and those with families. And the Win Family Bundle encourages people to bring along their children who will be able to continue their education on the island, whether they want to continue their education online or they want to enter into a school system. They are free to certainly enter into a school system in Dominica. The program also aims at giving families a rich cultural experience enhanced by the natural wonders of the island. Surely Dominica is a dream destination, the kind of place you can escape to and immerse yourself in the wonders of nature, in the simplicity and calm of its beauty, surrounded by a people welcoming and kind, eager to help make your experience one in a lifetime. There is no other place you can be now in the world with this COVID pandemic other than the Commonwealth of Dominica, the Nature Isle. Also on Wednesday, the Minister for Education, for the first time, presented the plans for the construction of 6 new schools to be funded by the People's Republic of China. I am aware that there has been high anticipation for a new Goodwill Secondary School, and it has been long in coming. And this is one of the schools planned for construction and being financed by the government of the People's Republic of China. And like many of you, I look forward to the commencement of works on this institution, which we predict will be built and equipped to the most modern standards to accommodate a wide range of programs, including skills training and facilities for sports development. We have also received renderings and floor plans for the Thibault Primary School, the Bellevue Chopin Primary School, the Calibishie Primary School, Tetmon Primary School, and the Sineku Primary School. These plans are in addition to a wide range of projects ongoing at various schools in our country. Improvement works are continuing at Dillis and Montjohn. Excellent work taking place in those 2 schools, and also at the Dominica Community High School and the Castlebrose Secondary School under the BNTF 9 project. We have also started reconstruction of the Will Strathmore Stevens Primary School in Marigot and at the Granby Primary School as well. These 2 projects are funded with financial support from the government of Canada. In housing, my dear brothers and sisters, friends, the gains are tremendous. What we have done in housing is really unparalleled, and it speaks to an innate commitment, an innate ambition of the government to housing the nation, providing affordable housing, comfortable housing, safe housing, resilient housing for our people. And we will never give up until we are satisfied that every family in this country has a decent home. And the number of housing initiatives that are taking place, as you heard from the Minister for Housing, Honorable Reginald Ostry, on Wednesday, while we have completed hundreds of houses in communities across Dominica, the program is continuing to benefit even more of our citizens, and work is current on a number of apartment complexes and in the construction of individual homes in many communities across Dominica. Among these are the 51 units under construction at the riverbank in Roseau, due for completion in June and August to 2021. There are 2 buildings. One will be completed in June. The other will be completed in August. And certainly I know there's a lot of anticipation and excitement from the residents of Roseau Central who are looking and hoping that they will be a recipient of this home. But we'll certainly be continuing the construction of homes in Roseau Central as well. And we'll be launching this year over 221 more units that are planned for Eggleston, Trafalgar, Pound right there in Roseau, also the Financial Center, Granby, Woodfordale, Point Michel, Scottshead, Wesley, and the Salisbury constituency. And also we'll be doing some homes in the Maho constituency as well, in Paybush constituency. We'll continue those homes in the Collier constituency, the number of communities. We also have the 50 homes that have been financed by the European Union in the Canago territory, that will be built in the Canago territory. We've had to take decisions to do some of the preparatory work on our own as government in order for us to ensure that the total of 50 homes are constructed. Because the cost will, the bids that we're receiving were much more than what the European Union has granted us. So we have started site preparation in the Siniku. We have done, I believe, just about 4 of those sites, both access to those lots and also getting the lots leveled for construction. And that would significantly reduce on the cost of constructing these homes. And the equipment is in the Canago territory. It will remain there until all of the lots are accessible and all of the lots are leveled so as to prepare for construction. And I believe that we'll go to tender in the next few days. We've identified contractors and companies, and we're hoping that we can go for 2 days, and then we can see work started within 2 months, and we can push these projects and get them completed in a reasonable time. Also on Friday, we officially commissioned the new Doris Musgrave Health and Wellness Center in Marigot. There were a number of, as you know, a number of hymns were quoted, you know. But it was a wonderful ceremony. And like with all other facilities before it, this was a proud moment for this Dominica Labour Party government. And I am very happy for the residents of Marigot, whose primary healthcare system is much more enhanced as a result of the completion of this facility. And what is amazing is that, you know, in every one of these facilities, the top floor is accommodation for nurses, for the district nurse. And I was happy to have been told that the district nurse for Marigot has already occupied the residence. You know, so it has been used for some time, even before the health center actually opened and facilitated. So that's the purpose of it, and I'm happy that we have been able to make not only accommodation for the provision of health and wellness services, but ensure that the nurse who has to provide those services on an ongoing basis is in fact in a comfortable, safe accommodation. And I'm happy for the district nurse. You know, somebody's asking on Facebook a question. Can you comment on LIAT, the ex-employees now 1 year without their severance pay? It's an important question. This is a matter that the receiver is engaging regional governments on. Luckily for us, our law allows for some kind of severance where the company may not have the resources. And so we have in Dominica, we have directed LIAT to this redundancy fund that exists at the DSS, which we believe that they can access to meet the severance pay for, or at least assist in meeting the severance pay for some Dominicans who would have been affected. What we have been doing so far as a government, since the resumption of LIAT's operations, we have been paying the salaries of LIAT employees resident in Dominica as our contribution in the interim towards ensuring the viability of the return of LIAT and also eventually its viability. And of course, we'll continue to work with the receiver and the government of Antigua, the Prime Minister of Antigua, Honorable Gaston Brown, on this matter. But I believe that it's important that as a grouping, that we look seriously at addressing the issue of severance. It is a lot of money, and a lot of money in a time when all governments have no money or little money, So, but I still believe that these are human beings. They have families. They have mortgages, like all of us, like most of us. They have children at school. They have been utilizing their savings. I mean, anybody who is utilizing their savings for so many months, no doubt it will be significantly depleted and nothing coming in. If you take out and you don't put in, then you'll eventually get to zero. And so I can understand the frustration and anxiety of these employees, and we in Dominica, we're prepared to play our part, even above and beyond what we have to. But I believe that solution is going to require a regional approach. There's been a suggestion by some that each government should take over the employees that are resident in their respective countries, but there's been no firm decision on this. So I'm hoping that at some point we can have a discussion at the CARICOM or OECS level on this matter. But it is a matter that needs to be addressed. The people are entitled to it, but we all know the circumstance of LIAT. And the question is, how do we go about finding a solution to this? So we're very sensitive to the situation. Now, in respect to this health and wellness facilities, this is no doubt a clear, tangible expression of this government's commitment to the well-being of our citizens. I mean, our investments in healthcare have been consistent because we understand as a government the importance of a healthy population. And as we indicated, we've seen that we've added the word wellness to the health centers. And it is to bring to our consciousness as citizens that there are actions that we can take to keep ourselves well or prevent ourselves from getting ill. And so when we go to the health center, we should not only go to the health centers when we are sick or when we think we are sick, but we should go there to get information on how we can take care of ourselves, how can we improve on our lifestyle practices, and to minimize ourselves from getting sick, especially with the chronic non-communicable diseases that is causing havoc in our society and in our world. I mean, diabetes and hypertension and the associated illnesses or complications from diabetes and hypertension. I mean, it is dramatic. These things are dramatic and creating serious challenges, economic challenges for families. When you have, I keep saying, when you have a 43-year-old whose leg is amputated or who has gotten a stroke and therefore cannot work, that person has five children, the children are in school, that person has a mortgage to pay, and you have to be medically boarded off, which means that you'll be getting a fraction of your monthly pay. You create an immediate problem, immediate challenge, economic challenge for the family. And so it's important for us to exercise and to eat right and to do all that we can to make ourselves and to keep ourselves healthy. There's another question from Facebook. When will persons fully vaccinated enter in Dominica not have to do quarantine? Again, this is a matter that we raised with the WHO in our discussion, and I'll mention about this later. And of course, we've been having discussions at CAFA and also at the PAO level. And I think these agencies are looking at it. and to see what needs to be done to if we need to change the protocols. As of now, the protocols remain the same because still a significant percentage of our population, of the world's population, have not been vaccinated. And again, this reinforces the need for us to get vaccinated quickly. Now, the numbers to call again is 611-3400 and 225-3400. There's another question. Will government be selling land in the Northern District? And I guess the Northern District is from Marigot going towards Benz and across to Portsmouth, including Penville and these communities. The simple answer to this question is no. We are looking at the issue of land use. And once we would have addressed the issue of land use in those areas, especially where the airport would be constructed, then we certainly would be in a position to talk about selling. As of now, we are leasing lands to many farmers and individuals, but no land for sale for this stage until we have a land use policy. Now, as I was saying, that I continue to speak of the need for us to review our habits and to pay more attention to our lifestyles, so that we may secure longer and more wholesome lives for ourselves and our families. Significantly, also, we are naming these facilities after health workers, and in this case, nurses, who have made a lasting impact on the health and wellness and on the very lives of their fellow citizens. As I indicated at Friday's event in Marigot, these exemplary nurses have set a template for us so that we can pattern on their example of service, love, compassion, and commitment to people. These things, almost sometimes we believe that these things are non-existent. And I believe that if we have this in our society, I believe half our problems will be solved. And we really need to show compassion and love and commitment and a desire to serve our people. And so this is missing in our society sometimes. Whether it happens once or 10 times, we have to ensure that it doesn't happen in the future. And so it is my hope that we will look to them, to these nurses who have contributed, as beacon of hope. Look to them as shining beacons of hope, of compassion, and of care, and emulate their life's work. I believe we have a caller on the line. Caller, good evening, please. Welcome.
Good evening, Prime Minister.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Welcome.
Calling from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, sir.
We have somewhat of a vaccine conundrum in Trinidad and Tobago. And the Prime Minister has said that he refuses to go begging India for free vaccine. What I want to ask, and before I ask, let me congratulate you and the government on how you all are tackling the vaccine rollout. What I want to ask is how and when you got into the India vaccine gift program, were there strings attached to it? Were you offered and then asked? And is Dominica involved in the COVAX program? And if so, was this bilateral or multilateral through Carib?
Okay. Yes. Well, I have never been in the business of commenting on a statement made by any prime minister or any president, head of state, head of government. I have been prime minister of my country for 17 years, and I have maintained cordial relationship with all prime ministers, those present and many past. So I will not comment on any statement made by my colleague prime ministers. I have the greatest of respect and admiration for all of them. But I will speak to the question in respect to Dominica. Yes, Dominica is part of the COVAX facility. Special arrangement has been made for a country like Dominica. But very early on, I mean, I have experience in this business of dealing with international organizations and understanding the realities of this world. And I recognize that while there's a firm commitment from the COVAX facility, where these vaccines are being manufactured, these countries and these regions have declared nationalist approaches to the use and access of the vaccines. And this is the reality of the situation. In the United States, they're not exporting or allowing exports to be made, so even if you pay for it, it's difficult for you to get it. And in Europe, as you've seen, they've been very clear on this. No vaccines will be leaving Europe because they have paid upfront for vaccines and they need to get their supplies to vaccinate their populations. And I respect and understand the anxieties of all these countries and the United Kingdom and others. So we have not been getting vaccines from these developed countries. And even though they have made commitments to provide funding to access vaccines through COVAX, there's not much WHO and PAHO can do because PAHO and WHO are not manufacturing vaccines. And therefore, in our case, recognizing the importance of vaccines, we decided to explore our bilateral relationships. And we wrote to the government of India, and the Prime Minister of India responded in quick speed. I mean, literally less than 48 hours after my letter was dispatched to the Prime Minister, we received a commitment of vaccines. This is largely a bilateral arrangement. And of course, other countries within the OECS and some Carib countries have also received vaccines. So, and we, in Dominica's case, you know, we don't deal with strings attached. People who will have all sorts of views about, oh, well, what is, okay, Skerrit getting a vaccine from India, what is Skerrit supposed to do for India, or what are the strings attached? There are no strings attached. Zero at all. And we're grateful for the vaccines. We've received vaccines from India, 70,000 doses. We've shared many of those, thousands of them with sister Caribbean countries. And we've also received 20,000 doses of vaccines from China, which we have in our possession. And we are administering those as well. So this is my simple response to your question. There's a question, when will the housing revolution come to the Calibishie constituency, especially the village of Calibishie? It's a Facebook question. We have been building homes in the Calibishie constituency, several homes, as a matter of fact. But I agree with you that we need to increase the visibility of the number of homes that we need to construct in the Calibishie constituency. The challenge we have in the Calibishie constituency is that you do not have access to government lands or even reasonable sized private lands. So in Calibishie, we've been trying to acquire lands from some private citizens. That hasn't materialized. We also looked at the Bois Park area, and we are advancing the development of the Bois Park. I just had a discussion with the parliamentary representative 2 weeks ago, and we've given clear directions that we need to increase our efficiency in responding to the housing challenge in the Calibishie constituency. In Calibishie, you know, the challenge is land. There is a family in Calibishie who was offered to sell us some lands, but we have not made much progress on this. We're trying to acquire about 5 acres of land from this family. I'm hoping that myself to have a conversation with a representative of that family sometime this week to get a sense from them, you know, what are the issues confronting them, or in the inability to firmly commit to selling those lands to us. I know very well the situation in those areas, and of course, and we need to redevelop and reconstruct this hamlet in Benz called Simon, and I believe that we need to do a lot more for the people in Simon and the greater Benz and Ansime. So we are mindful of the challenge there, and we are certainly working towards addressing the housing situation, as you say, especially in the village of Calibishie. Somebody wants an update on the Dominica Grammar School. That's a Facebook question. Grammar School, as you know, we did the first phase of the grammar school, and I have given the direction that we need to increase our speed in terms of the completion of the grammar school. I'm a former student of the grammar school. I have the greatest appreciation to the grammar school. I spent some wonderful years there, and though there's a Minister of Education, the Minister of Education is in fact a former grammar school student, but I have elevated the grammar school to the level of the Prime Minister, and I'll be personally myself, obviously working in the Minister of Education to look at the development of the grammar school. So where it is now, we are reviewing the drawings that we have to enhance its aesthetics, and we have also sent those plans to the PTA executive and the principal to look at it, because I want everybody to be involved in it, so that once we get feedback from them, we'll incorporate the feedback in those designs, and so we can move very quickly. And I believe in the next couple of months, I believe we will be in a position to sign a contract for the Dominica Grammar School and the construction of the grammar school, and let it be a truly amazing edifice, and something that all of us who are past students of the grammar school will be proud of, and those who are current students will feel very comfortable in, which it will be a very conducive place for learning. And of course, we'll be taking this issue of sports development into consideration in the design and the construction of the school. We have a caller, please. Caller, please. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to compliment the cabinet on the press conference.
Thank you.
This is my first time I did it this past week. Well, not Wednesday, but Thursday I did the recorded message. And it was very informative in terms of all the visitors being able to give the information on what's happening in the Antigua ministries. Mm-hmm. So there's no issue of politicking, but just straightforward technical information which anybody can appreciate and understand.
Yes,
so I want to compliment that move in having that kind of information sharing with the public.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it is all an effort to improve transparency in government, improve access to information, improve our connection with the people whom we represent. Because the reality is there are a lot of things happening in the country and within the government system. And just in this press conference where we had the Minister for Education, the Minister for Health, the Minister for Housing, the Minister of Tourism, I mandated that they focus on one or two areas in the ministries. I mean, if the Minister for Health had to speak further about all the other initiatives in the Ministry of Health, he could have had 3 hours of press conference, likewise the Minister. Tourism, we only focused on the hotels that are under construction. And so if the Minister had to speak about all the facilities that we're improving, repairing, rehabilitating, there's some of the initiatives that they have in the Ministry of Tourism, she would have taken a couple hours. Likewise, the Minister of Education. The Minister of Education only focused on the schools under construction. Those are financed with funds from BNTF, the Government of Canada, and the schools to be financed by the People's Republic of China. But there are a number of other initiatives within the Ministry of Education that are ongoing that she could have spoken about. And so we only focus on a couple of those. The other ministers who will show up next time will be the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister for Sports, because I recognize that 4 ministers at one time will be too many. Because the press conference should really not go for more than an hour and a half, but we went off for almost 2.5 hours because there was so much information, and the questions from the media, and I must say that they were legitimate, sensible questions from the media, respectful questions, and that's what we have to do, have this mutually respectful relationship where the media is free to ask us any question. On top of the press conferences, as you know, I have this program on Sunday where I bring different people from the government system. Last time we had the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and the Executive Director of Invest Dominica. Let us take a call. Caller, please.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir.
I am a member. I will always be a member of the media.
Thank you.
It's good to hear you talk about them. Two simple things. I think I heard you once say that Dominica was 267 or 60-something square miles. Has the country become a little smaller? I'm just asking, has the country become has the landmass decreased? I know once it was 305.
I think there may have been an error in this from our end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
no
yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Because I do something, I think in the early days of Winsky and others, it was 305.
I think
Then it became
298.
289, but it's just a matter of interest.
Yeah.
And the second thing, to what extent will Dominican tradesmen be involved in the airport development project? An activist, will Dominica's quarries be asked to provide things like aggregate in the airport development project? Thank you very much.
Sure. I will take this question and I'll go back to some of the questions I got from Facebook and WhatsApp. Is there another caller, please? Hello? No? Okay. Now, on the question of international airport, clearly there'll be a lot of local procurement. I mean, all of the sand and the stones, the aggregates, we expect to get from Dominica or Tarish and so on for compacting, etc. Will come from Dominica. And of course, we expect to use a number of Dominican tradesmen. I'll tell you, for example, there's a young man who just came out from university with a PhD, and he has expressed an interest in working in the lab that will provide the services for the airport. And it is very likely that this young man, who I believe might be in his 30s, will be engaged. And I am very excited about these kind of prospects. When we have people who have gone out to get themselves trained or have developed skills here in Dominica, come forward in a constructive way and say, look, I'm available. Because people complain sometimes, where the jobs, boy, it's scary, where the jobs and so on. But expect somebody to come knocking the door and say, well, look, here's a job. But here it is that this young person has reached out, and I'm looking forward to meeting with him this week again. And I'm very excited about a guy like this, a young man, who will be engaged in the lab, and we intend to engage a number of them. But also, for example, in the lab, we're looking at engaging about 10 young people who will learn on the job and acquire the skills required, because the intention there is to get Dominicans to be able to run these things and manage these things, not only during the construction of the airport, but post the airport. And so we have a caller on the line, I've been told.
Yes, Prime Minister, this is a fellow from Centenarian.
Yeah, you sound like Senior Councilor Stefan to me.
I am PM.
Right. Welcome.
Thanks, PM. I have three short things to mention to you. I have been asked repeatedly to thank you by people from Antigua, Barbuda, St. Vincent, and Grenada and others for your, particularly members of the government, for your extraordinary generosity with the vaccines. Mm-hmm. And I promised them one day that I was going to do it while you were live on air. The other matter that I wanted to mention here is that the GIS document, the two-page document that has been put on social media, it's creating quite a stir, because I am part of a number of groups, WhatsApp chat groups, and from St. Vincent, Barbados, St. Lucia, and this great expression of surprise and astonishment at what it is that you've been able to achieve over the last few years, and especially during COVID. And I think I must, as a citizen of the state, thank you for that extraordinary work, because I know, based on my information in the OECS, there's no other country that has been able to do what you've done, especially when the Minister of Tourism spoke of the $951 million invested in the hotels and the jobs created. And sometimes we wait too late to give our dear friends and our leaders their flowers while they're alive. So I think I'm giving you yours now on behalf of so many of us.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the final point here, the point you made about LIAT, because I heard that, is of extraordinary importance, because generally shareholders are not responsible for severance payments made or owed by the company. And because of the redundancy fund that has been set up at Social Security, the former LIAT or the LIAT staff members who have been laid off or not being able to get at work may well be the only ones that are going to get some compensation on redundancy. Because based on my discussions in Antigua, I don't think Prime Minister Gaston Brown is going to want to carry the idea about each government take care of the employees in the state when there are hundreds in Antigua as opposed to St. Vincent and other countries. So that's another thing that I think we all need to appreciate, that there's this safety net at Social Security to help employees who otherwise would not have been entitled to any form of compensation at all.
Yeah.
And PM, you have a blessed night. I'm going to call you tonight on another matter which you know about.
Sure.
I will talk about that in person.
Sure.
Have a good night.
Thank you. And of course, my love and affection to the government and people of Antigua and Barbuda. I always joke with my friend Gaston Brown that this is the Commonwealth of Antigua, Barbuda, and Dominica. We've had such long-standing relationships between the two countries, and even more so during this time with my personal friendship with the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. I see Antigua the same way I see Dominica, and we have to continue working together for the greater good of all our citizens. Is there another call? Caller, please. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister.
Yes, sir. Good evening to you.
Yes, that's David. That's him and Dave's calling from the diaspora, Connecticut.
Okay. Hey, how are you?
Mr. Prime Minister, yes, I want to wish you the best and your government for doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And I want to also wish our Dominican that turned 107 years today. Congratulations.
Yeah, sure.
And I also want to wish you Dominica football national team a safe journey tomorrow on the first FIFA World Cup qualifying game. But Mr. Prime Minister, I have a point to make there. I know it's for 2 seconds. No, somebody brought it to my attention a couple of days ago on Facebook. Now, we have a lot of Dominican senior citizens that served this country for many years, and now they retire. Now they're at home, and now they fell ill now, and now they have the sons and daughters have to leave their job to look after them. Is there a way the government can subsidize these people?
Yeah. Well, this will have to be a case by case basis. In Christianly, there are private senior citizen homes in Dominica, and I have visited some of them, and they provide excellent care and attention to senior citizens. So families who find themselves in a particular circumstance may want to give consideration to that option. But we do have the SUK program, as you know, where the government pays caregivers to go into the homes of senior citizens to provide care to them. And also we have engaged quite a number of people under the same program through the National Employment Program. So we do provide support where on a case-by-case basis to families. Somebody's asking a question on Facebook in regards to the river wall in Coliho. I want to tell you that we will commence work very soon on some aspects of the Collier retaining wall. As you know, I have always said to you that we will do this on a phased basis. We have some interventions to make that will cost the government about $389,000, which I've approved. And then I intend to come to Collier to meet the residents so that we can appreciate the next steps, because the other sections will cost about $2.7 million. So we need to determine together which sections do we do first and second and third under this $2.7 million. But we've identified where we have the $389,000. So for example, the gentleman who works at Dominica, whose home is right opposite the bus stop, his home there is threatened. So his home falls under the $389,000. The retaining wall next to his home falls under the $389,000. And the other sections as well that we will come here to engage you on. But I have approved this, and we look forward to commencing work very soon on the $389,000 sections. And then we will discuss how do we go about the $2.7 million. Telephone call, please. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Hi, good evening to you. How are you?
I'm pretty well, thank you.
Yes, I just called to really congratulate you and the government of Dominica for the excellent job that you've been doing so far. I also want to commend the Minister of Health and the health officials for managing this COVID, that pandemic in the way that it has been going. Now, PM, I know you have a very strong head on your shoulder. And I know people are asking for party here, good time there, those kind of things. But if they want that, they must take the vaccine so that we can, get our herd immunity. Please, PM, do not open our country just because people have concerns about what we call CO. Because we do not want to undo the good that you and the government have done. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. We take note of your advice, and we are mindful of this. We cannot rush the brush. We are seeing an increase in cases in countries, and we have to be mindful of the implications of that. So we won't rush the brush, but as we have done, we work from a plan. We work based on sound advice from professionals, from experts, and we will continue to be guided by this and not taking decisions based on emotion or any pressure from any interest group. Somebody's asking a question in the telephone call. No? Somebody's asking a question there from Facebook. Is there any reason why the CEO of the hospital was not from Dominica? Well, the position was advertised and quite a number of people applied. We went through, the commission went through an interview process, and it was deemed based on the interview that this gentleman was the best suited. And we have to sometimes, caution ourselves against this approach to things. Because they're Dominicans who reside in these people's countries who hold high positions. And if we ourselves are asking the question about, well, why we have a foreigner working in Dominica, these people will start asking the same questions of why is a Dominican there and so forth. So we have to be very careful about this. Understand we live in a global environment. Dominica's marketplace is the world. We are part of this global ecosystem, and we should not let our brothers and sisters who come from other countries feel unwelcome by this approach that we're taking sometimes about, non-Dominicans who have contracts in Dominica or non-Dominicans who are engaged in Dominica. We have to be careful with this, very careful with this. When we're in difficulties, the question is who comes to our aid? Who comes to our aid? And these very same people who come to our aid. And then when we're back to normal, then as if we believe that we're an island unto ourselves. We're not an island unto ourselves. We need everybody, and we need the help of everybody, and we need people with the expertise and the knowledge who can come and who can share their skills and talents and expertise with us. And the hope is that we benefit from it, so that tomorrow we can do it ourselves and by ourselves if it is absolutely necessary that is the circumstance. So we have every confidence that the gentleman will do well. We have to give him the support and make sure he succeeds, because if he succeeds, our health system will succeed. A telephone call, please. Hello, good evening, welcome.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Yes, first of all, I want to commend the government of Dominica for the tremendous amount of work you've been doing in terms of the COVID and the vaccine. Just tonight, I was looking at the news on CNN, and Brazil has a serious concern because persons are doing things illegally, going to parties and beaches and so on. I think Dominica has done very good. And the other point I want to raise is I want to commend you, sir, for your quick intervention last week, where you also got in excess of $30,000 to allay the plight of the people up there. And I'm extremely happy for your quick intervention, sir. And another point, I just want to ask you, what plans do they have for the Barracuda building on the Bayfront and also the old Dominica Club in terms of infrastructure and development?
Yeah.
But thanks to the government for the tremendous work around Dominica, which is really showing up. Thank you, sir, and good night. And God bless.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Somebody asked a question on WhatsApp on OPM. How do I get a space for my mom at the infirmary? That's a WhatsApp question. We have your number, and someone from my office will contact you directly to respond to guide you and advise you on how you can go about doing this. There's a question, a telephone call, please. Telephone call. Hello, good evening, welcome.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir. Welcome, please.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
What would it?
Go ahead, please. I'm hearing you. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for taking my call, PM.
Yes, sir.
I am calling in connection with the COVID-19 and the vaccination. Hello?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, good evening, PM.
Yep.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm calling with regard to the COVID-19 and the question of vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
Presently, we have about 200 calls booked for the cruise ship season, which starts on September 2021 and goes on to the March-April 2022. Already, we are having requests from the cruise lines asking what is the situation with regard to vaccinations in Dominica. So I just want to add my voice and plea that everybody, especially those involved in the cruise ship industry, take the time to have their vaccinations so that when the ships are coming in, that there's not a problem with regard to the number or the percentage of the population that has not taken the vaccine. Secondly, there is a good prospect for this season, so it's very important that we start to discuss the plans with regard to vendors, taxi operators, etc. And so how we're going to deal with this new season. Mm-hmm. And finally, please, can we do something about cleaning the country? We're still rather untidy, and there's a lot of rubbish, etc. And we cannot expect to work with the name of nature and of the Caribbean when in fact we're not that clean. And finally, sir, just to congratulate you and your government, especially the Ministry of Health, for the wonderful job that you have done in keeping us safe and sound over the last year. Good night, sir.
Okay, thank you, and of course, I recognize your voice, and thank you for your continued service to our country. I have the greatest admiration for your contribution, and you're always sensible and sincere advice. We've taken note of this. Obviously, you know, we've been saying the same things in respect to the vaccination and how important it is, especially for the tourism season, because I believe it is absolutely important that we can allow the cruise ships to call in Dominica this year. You know, so many people rely directly on the cruise ship dollar. You know, this is why, you know, I have always been a strong advocate of the cruise industry. You know, not instead of stay over. In addition to stay over, you know, this is part of our economy. This is part of job creation and foreign exchange. So every dollar counts, and every dollar is important in the scheme of things. And so it's important for us to get vaccinated. The taxi operators, the vendors, you know, the tour guides. You know, you need to avail yourself. Understand. This is about your health first, and also your economic survival. And so if we have an opportunity to get vaccinated, let us get vaccinated. You know, we must not be this usual Dominican that, you know, we ask for a playing field, we get a playing field. When we get it, we don't use the playing field. Now, we have vaccines. Some of us don't want to take vaccines, but if we had no vaccines, everybody's saying, well, where's Skerrit's contacts and so on, so long you're talking about vaccines, up to you can get vaccines in Dominica. So let us go ahead and take the vaccines and so forth. I agree with you on the issue of the cleanliness of our country. We citizens must start with the cleanliness of the country from their homes. You know, our homes must be clean. We must landscape our homes, plant flowers, you know, beautify our homes, clean the streets, beautify the streets. There's too much indiscriminate, you know, dumping and littering taking place in our country. You know, we have to be more conscious about the environment, you know, and managing our waste and the beautification of our countries, you know, and it has to be a national effort. The government has its role to play, but the private sector has its role to play. The community groups, the village councils, all of us need to work together. So if you have a business place, why can't each business person take charge of maintaining a certain distance, you know, or the entire entrance or the entire length of his boundary? And if each of us were to do that, you know, it will certainly add. The NEP, the National Empowerment Program, is doing its part, but that's not enough. You know, we need everybody to be on board, you know, doing this. Back in the days, I mean, growing up in Vegas, we had to plant flowers along the roadside, and every day, every morning before we go to school, we had to strip the drains along the streets and to sweep the streets. And you know, in Vegas, with all of its trees, letting off the leaves every morning, and then we had so many plants, you know, flowers planted and so forth, hibiscus, and, you know, I mean, we had to sweep mango trees. We had several mango trees in our yard, breadfruit trees. And we had to sweep the yard every morning and plant flowers every morning before we go to school. And I do the same thing even as Prime Minister. When I go to Vegas and I sweep my yard and I sweep the roadsides if I have to, when I have to. And I think we all have to have that level of pride in ourselves, in our country, in our communities, and to seek to beautify our country. I have always said we cannot call Dominica the Nature Isle only based on what God has given to us. It has to be based on what the Lord has given to us and how we have enhanced it. So thank you, and I look forward to speaking to you soon so that we can speak about the tourism aspects and preparing for this. Earlier this week, ladies and gentlemen, friends, I announced that the government will make available some $27 million to the Aid Bank to assist small and medium-sized businesses in Dominica. And this brings to fruition a promise that the government made in the 2020-2021 budget to assist small businesses to access necessary financing for the development, growth, and viability of the businesses. We pledged then in the budget address, and you go to page 32, to provide to the Aid Bank an amount of $30 million over a 3-year period. Over a 3-year period. On lending to micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. We are giving them $27 million in the first year. So we're advancing the investments in small businesses, recognizing that businesses need the financing now more than ever. And so I have decided not to wait for 3 years, but to front load the $30 million by giving $27 million in the first instance. We're getting these funds from this Caribbean Development Bank. We should have possession of it in early May. And as soon as we get it, we'll be having those funds into the bank. I believe there are 1 or 2 outstanding requirements. One of them reside with the aid bank, and we're hoping that can be resolved, and then the funds will be there. It could be before, but certainly by May of this year. So I urge those of you who are qualified to apply for this assistance so that your small enterprises may succeed in these very trying times, and very importantly, prepare your businesses for the post-COVID-19 period. On Friday, I participated in the 6th special meeting of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Authority meeting with the Director General of the World Health Organization, WHO, His Excellency Dr. Tedros, and his team, including our very own Dr. E10 of the Pan American Health Organization. On behalf of the authority, and of course the citizens of the OECS, I express our pride and gratitude to the Director General of the World Health Organization for maintaining constant communication with small island developing states, especially in the Caribbean, and for being an advocate for the region. During that meeting, we discussed and got an update on the ACTA and the COVAX facility. These are facilities created to mobilize vaccines for member states, of the World Health Organization, Pan American Health Organization, to secure vaccines for us. We also discussed the safe and sustainable economic recovery of our islands, bridging the supply gap, because there's a serious supply gap where vaccines are concerned, procurement and financing of vaccines, and of course, the vaccine passport and quarantine. What are going to be the new protocols once we get to herd immunity in our respective countries? How should we treat with visitors and citizens returning to our country? You would have also heard that the World Bank approved a concessional loan of US $25 million, or EC, $67 million for Dominica as budget support. As you know, Dominica, like every other country in the world, has experienced financing challenges caused by COVID-19. And therefore, it was necessary for us to mobilize additional funding to assist us in closing the financing gap. In the US, they first had a $3 trillion stimulus package. They now had a 1.9 million. We're not like the US, where we can go to Parliament and put new money into the economy. We don't have that luxury as the US does. So we have to go and borrow from international financial organizations. And of course, we are eternally grateful to the World Bank, who has proven itself to be a true partner in our development. I believe I'm running out of time, or I may have run out of time, but I want to extend, as I have done through communication with the family, my sincere birthday wishes, best wishes to Ma Willie, Elizabeth Ogis of Crayfish River, who turned 107 today, 107 today. And I've heard the stories of how she grew up and what she ate during all of his years, and she really doesn't look like she's 107. Really doesn't look like 107. But this is our country, Dominica, the most centenarians per capita anywhere in the world. It speaks to our ability to outlive our own self, and once we do what we need to do, exercise and eat right. I was in Granby today. I visited Granby today, watching cricket. I want to commend Asa Banton for organizing the softball cricket league in Granby. Today, they had the finals between Dubic and Scotshead. I saw Joe Big Bat and I saw some bowls to Scott said, but had to come to prepare for this program, so I'm not sure who won, but it was a wonderful atmosphere, and bringing the community together in a spirit of love, in a spirit of togetherness, and this is what our country is known for, and I want to commend Asa Banton and the organizers for this. Again, I want to wish the Dominica football team well in the World Cup qualifiers. Let us go out there and make Dominica proud. We can do it. We can do it. Let us stay focused and let us keep to the game plan, and let us come back victorious and God's willing, quite possibly make it to the World Cup. So all the best, boys, and we are with you. We are rooting for you. You are representing us, and we will be there with you, shouting, go Dominica, go. Thank you. Good night. Let us always look at the cup half full rather than half empty, and let us go forth and serve our country and serve our Lord and serve our fellow men. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful week. God bless.